My name is Marcus Callahan. I'm 43, a civil engineer, and until recently, I thought I had a stable marriage. My wife's name is Elena. We've been married for 12 years. We weren't perfect, but we were supposed to be real. You know what I mean? The kind of couple that makes it through storms by sheer force of loyalty. That illusion shattered at our anniversary dinner. We were at a place called Magnolia Ridge, a boutique rooftop restaurant in downtown Charlotte. I made reservations 3 months in advance. Elena always loved the view. Candlelight shimmered against her wine glass. She wore a deep red dress I hadn't seen before. I should have taken that as a clue. She barely looked at me during appetizers. Her phone lit up every few minutes, and she smiled at it like it was telling her a secret. Still, I tried to push through. I handed her a small wrapped box, a necklace, simple and silver, the kind she used to like. She smiled politely, almost distant, and said, "That's sweet, Marcus." Not thank you. Not even a kiss on the cheek. Then, she raised her glass. "To new beginnings," she said. I blinked. New beginnings? She clinked her glass against mine and said, "You'll see." The waiter returned. Not just to top off her drinks, but to bring a third chair to the table. That's when a man I didn't recognize approached us, tall, confident, maybe late 30s. She stood up and kissed him on the cheek, right in front of me, not awkwardly, not like it was some mistake. "Elena," I said quietly, trying to keep my voice steady. "What's going on?" She sat down next to him. Next to him, not me. "This is Jeremy," she said, as if introducing me to a coworker at a networking event. "He's part of my new chapter." I laughed at first. I thought it was a prank, a setup, maybe even a social experiment, some twisted surprise party. But it wasn't. Jeremy reached out to shake my hand. I didn't move. "Elena, this is our anniversary," I said. "Why would you bring?" "I didn't think you'd take it well," she said, sipping her wine. "But you're calm. That's good." The room spun around me. The waiter hovered awkwardly, unsure whether to pour for the third glass. That's when it hit me. She hadn't just moved on. She wanted me to see it. Publicly. She wanted to humiliate me. I stood up. People were watching. A few even whispered. "I don't know who you are anymore," I said. "I haven't been happy for years, Marcus," she replied, almost bored. I just stopped pretending. Jeremy said nothing. He just sat there, his hand now on her thigh like it belonged there. I walked out. I didn't touch my steak. I didn't say goodbye. And I sure as hell didn't cry. Not then. That night, I drove aimlessly for 2 hours. No music, just the sound of my breathing and the occasional flick of the turn signal. I ended up in front of my parents' old house, the one I grew up in. They'd passed on years ago, and it had been sold. But something about the porch light still glowing, the shape of the window panes, it calmed me. Like time had rewound for a second. I sat there, hands gripping the steering wheel, wondering how I didn't see this coming. Looking back, there were signs. The distance, the extra gym sessions, the late meetings, the password change on her phone, the sudden interest in finding herself. But she played it well. She kissed me good night every night. She laughed at my dumb jokes. She made plans with me for the holidays. It wasn't just betrayal. It was a performance. The next morning, Elena wasn't home. Her side of the closet was half empty. The smell of her perfume still hung in the air like a ghost. I opened the kitchen drawer and found a manila envelope with my name on it. Inside, divorce papers. Filed. Signed. Dated a week ago. She hadn't even waited for the dinner to be over. There was a sticky note attached. "Let's make this easy, Marcus. No lawyers. No drama. We can split things 50-50, unless you make it hard. No sorry. No, I hope you're okay. Just cold negotiation in a warm house we'd built together." I crumpled the note. I didn't cry. I couldn't. Not yet. Instead, I started packing. 1 suitcase. Just essentials. Laptop, a few clothes, toiletries, and a framed photo of us from our first trip to New York. I don't even know why I grabbed it. Habit, maybe. As I zipped the bag shut, I heard keys in the lock. Elena walked in, surprised to see me still there. "You're still here," she said, like I was overstaying my welcome. "I live here, Elena. I thought you'd be gone by now. Jeremy's coming over. We have brunch plans." I felt something shift inside me. Not rage. Resolve. "I'll be gone in 10, I said. She crossed her arms. I assume you saw the papers? I did. And I'll sign them. But not your version. Would do this properly. Through lawyers. She scoffed. I knew you'd make it difficult. No, I said. I'm just not stupid anymore. I didn't wait for her response. I walked out. I didn't even slam the door. I moved into a short-term rental across town. 1 bedroom. Bare walls. But it was quiet. I couldn't sleep that first night. The silence was loud. The bed felt too big. So I went through our old photos. Trips. Birthdays. Sunday mornings with pancakes and messy hair. Were any of those moments real? Or was it always just performance? I scrolled back to one particular photo. Us at our 10th anniversary. Smiling. Arms around each other. Her eyes crinkled, mine tired but content. We looked like a couple in love. Was that real? Or just a snapshot between lies? I didn't know anymore. A few days later, I ran into Elena's sister, Rachel, at the grocery store. She looked awkward. Guilty. Like she'd just been caught stealing. Marcus, she said. I didn't know. You didn't know what? That she'd do it that way. You mean cheat publicly? At our anniversary dinner. She winced. I told her to be honest. But not like that. Jeremy's been around for a while. A while. Rachel looked down at her shopping cart. How long, Rachel? She hesitated. Maybe a year. I felt like someone had pulled the floor out from under me. Did you ever think about telling me? She said she'd end it. Then she said she'd leave quietly. I thought she was just scared. Of what? Hurting me? No. Of what you'd do if you found out. I left the store without buying anything. My head felt like it was full of smoke. A year. They'd been together a year. All the dinners I cooked. All the birthdays I planned. All the little gifts. The love letters on sticky notes. The foot massages when she was tired. And the whole time, Jeremy was in the background, waiting. I wanted to scream. Break something. But I didn't. Instead, I opened my phone and typed something into the search bar. Best divorce attorneys in Charlotte. Because I wasn't going to go down quietly. If she wanted a clean split, she should have acted like a clean person. This wasn't revenge. It was clarity. The fog was lifting, and I was beginning to see. It took me a week to hire an attorney. Her name was Jessica Klein. Sharp. Direct. No small talk. That's exactly what I needed. During our first meeting, she asked, "What do you want out of this, Marcus? Be honest." I paused. "I want my dignity back," I said. "And I want the truth on paper for once." She nodded. "Then we do it right. No shortcuts. No silence. Let's see what she's hiding." Elena had offered a quiet exit. But that offer vanished the moment she found out I'd lawyered up. I got a text from her that night. "Really, Marcus? You had to make this ugly." She wanted to keep it clean because she had everything to lose if the dirt came out. But I was done protecting her. Jessica dug into the finances first. And that's when things started to unravel. "Elena's been draining your joint account for the past 8 months, Jessica said, spreading statements across her desk. She told me she was paying off student loans. I muttered. She was, Jessica said, just not hers. I looked closer. Payments were being made to someone named Melissa K. Linton. Jessica raised an eyebrow. "Know her?" "No," I said. "She's Jeremy's ex-wife." I felt my stomach drop. The woman Elena left me for was still married, or had been. And Elena was helping him pay off his ex? My mouth went dry. It wasn't just infidelity. It was collusion. That night, I didn't sleep. I went back through old text threads, old emails, trying to find the moment my wife stopped being my wife and became whatever this was. It was all buried under normalcy. "Can you grab almond milk?" "Love you, be home late." "Traffic sucks today." She was cheating, lying, and embezzling from our account, all while texting me like we were still partners. That kind of deception gets into your bones. You stop trusting your own memory. Had I ever really known her? Or just the version she performed for me? Jessica pressed harder. She subpoenaed phone records, bank transactions, even photos from shared cloud accounts. Then one afternoon she called and said, "I think you need to see this for yourself." She slid a stack of printed photos across the table. It was Elena, at a beach house, with Jeremy, and another man, older, gray-haired, maybe 60. They weren't just vacation shots. They were close. Familiar. "Who's the third man?" I asked. "Name's Thomas Langley," she said. "Retired judge. Big in real estate circles." I blinked. "What's he got to do with this?" Jessica folded her arms. He owns the property Jeremy's company is trying to develop. Your wife has been lobbying for him to approve a zoning change. Why would she care about zoning? She doesn't, Jessica said. But Jeremy does. It wasn't about love. It was business. She used me, then left me, to help someone else gain power. The betrayal ran deeper than I imagined. That weekend, Rachel called me. Marcus, she said, I think you should talk to my dad. Why? He knows more than he's letting on. I didn't understand at first. Rachel's dad, my father-in-law, Edward, had always kept his distance. He wasn't warm, but he was never cruel either. I agreed to meet him. We sat in silence on his back porch. He looked tired, older than I remembered. You love my daughter, he said quietly. I did. I warned her once. Told her not to gamble with a man who still cared. She didn't listen. No, she didn't. He poured 2 glasses of bourbon and slid one toward me. Then he said something that made my skin crawl. She learned it from her mother. I turned to him. What do you mean? She watched her mother play men like cards, he said. Sweet when it worked, cruel when it didn't. That kind of pattern doesn't break easy. I sat back, let his words sink in. So what now? I asked. She's not evil, Marcus, he said. But she believes she's always the smartest person in the room. Until she isn't. Weeks passed. The court dates approached. Elena refused all settlements. She thought I'd break, but I didn't. Then Jessica dropped the bombshell. She's trying to move out of state, she said. She's filing to sell the house without your consent. She can't do that. My name's still on it. She thinks you'll cave before she's denied. So I did the unthinkable. I went to the house. Not to beg, to face her. She opened the door, surprised to see me. You're not supposed to be here, she said flatly. You're trying to sell the house? It's mine. It was ours. She laughed. You think any of this is about you, Marcus? You think I'm the villain because I wanted more? No, you're the villain because you lied about it. I tried, she snapped. I tried to tell you for months, but you were comfortable in your bubble. Always the good guy, always the dependable husband. You never asked what I needed. I stared at her. Then tell me now, what did you need? She paused. Something cracked in her voice. To feel powerful, she whispered. There it was. Not love. Power. I didn't respond. I just turned and walked away. Court came fast. She wore white, like a wedding in reverse. Jeremy sat behind her, silent, like a shadow. My lawyer laid out everything. The financial theft, the emotional abuse, the manipulation of joint assets. Elena's lawyer tried to paint her as disillusioned, unsupported, and forced to take risks to survive emotionally. It didn't work. The judge granted me full ownership of the house, returned the drained funds, and issued a gag order on further property moves until everything was split. Elena didn't look at me once. Not during the ruling. Not when the judge slammed the gavel. Not even when we crossed paths in the hallway afterward. She walked past me like I was furniture. But it wasn't over. A week later, Jessica called again. I got something, she said. What now? Elena's real estate moves? They weren't just favors for Jeremy. She sent me a forwarded email. An anonymous tip. Someone had sent it to Jessica's firm through a private inbox. Inside, a series of messages between Elena and Judge Langley. Emails discussing payoffs, zoning favors, and a potential payout on the back end if Jeremy's development cleared. But the signature? Sent from the desk of Melissa K. Linton, Jeremy's ex-wife. She was the one who sent the evidence. And with that, the story shifted again. What began as betrayal at dinner became something else. A web of secrets. One woman using another. A chain of betrayal feeding itself. It wasn't about just me anymore. It was about everyone Elena stepped over to get where she wanted. I went back to the house a few days later. Alone. The living room was cold. Half empty. I walked to the kitchen. The counter where I used to cook. The window where she stood drinking coffee. I pulled a New York photo from my bag. The one I'd taken when I left. And I burned it. Not out of anger, but because it didn't belong in the new life I was building. One where I didn't beg for love. One where I didn't live in someone else's fantasy. But just when I thought I'd reached the bottom of the story, I got a call from Rachel. Her voice was shaking. There's something you don't know, Marcus, she said. Something about Jeremy and Elena's past. Something even she doesn't know I saw. What is it? She hesitated. I saw something the night before your anniversary dinner. Something that changes everything. Rachel met me at a small cafe on the edge of town. She looked nervous, like she was about to commit treason. She stirred her coffee 5 times before speaking. I wasn't going to tell you this, Marcus. Honestly, I tried to forget it. But the way she's spinning everything, I can't stay quiet anymore. I leaned forward. Tell me. She took a breath. The night before your anniversary dinner, I went over to Elena's house unannounced. I had left my scarf there after brunch the week before. She wasn't supposed to be home. And I let myself in. She never minded before. But when I walked in, I heard voices upstairs. At first I thought it was just her and Jeremy. But then, Rachel paused. I heard crying. Crying, a man, not Jeremy. Older. I walked halfway up the stairs, and I heard him say, "You promised me this would stay buried." And she said, "It has for 15 years. My skin chilled. You're sure that's what she said? Rachel nodded slowly. I didn't see him, but his voice. I recognized it. She looked me in the eye. It was Dad. My brain reeled. Edward? Elena's father? He was always stern, but honorable. Traditional. He hated drama. I couldn't imagine him involved in any of this. What were they talking about? I asked. I don't know, she said. But after that, he left in a hurry. Didn't even see me. I grabbed my scarf and walked out the back. I rubbed my forehead, trying to piece it together. Do you think she was hiding something from him? Or they were hiding something together? Rachel looked down. I think whatever it is, it goes back years. Before she met you. Maybe even before Jeremy. That night, I couldn't sleep. I pulled out an old storage box from the garage. It held random papers, old receipts, cards Elena had given me through the years. At the bottom was a folded letter, addressed to Elena. No return address. I don't know why I never noticed it before. I opened it. You can't pretend forever. I know what happened in Raleigh. You think everyone forgot. I didn't. You left behind more than footprints. You left a wound. There was no signature, no date, but something in my gut told me this was it. The truth under everything. The next day, I drove to Edward's house. I didn't call. I didn't knock. He opened the door, and for a second, his face felt like he expected this moment all along. Marcus, he said flatly. We need to talk, I said. He hesitated, then stepped aside. We sat in the same place we had weeks earlier. Only this time, there was no bourbon. I know about the argument, I said. Rachel heard it. His eyes darkened. You said she promised it would stay buried for 15 years. What happened in Raleigh? He looked out toward the backyard. She was 19, he said. It was a year before she transferred to Chapel Hill. I waited. She had a boyfriend. Older. Controlling. His name was Aaron Barrett. He worked for a private contractor, small, shady real estate development. The same people Jeremy would later work for. Actually, my heart sank. Of course it was connected. He wasn't good to her, Edward continued. Not physically, but psychologically. He played games. Manipulated her. She got pregnant. I froze. She miscarried, he said. But before that, he tried to blackmail her. Said he had photos, recordings. She was scared. Young. And he broke off, his voice rough. I paid him off. How much? $35,000. I told him to disappear. And I made her swear never to speak of it again. I didn't want her reputation ruined. I sat back. This was never about you, Marcus, he said, almost gently. You were just in the way. The next week, I went silent. I didn't call anyone. Didn't answer Jessica's texts. I kept thinking, if Elena was capable of burying something that huge, what else had she hidden? And then another unexpected message arrived. From Melissa, Jeremy's ex. She found my email. Said she had something to show me. We met at a park. She handed me a folder. Thin. 1 page. It was a scanned copy of a prenup between Jeremy and Elena. Signed and dated 8 months before our divorce. Wait, I said. She was married to him? No, Melissa said. But she was planning to be. The prenup covered business assets, intellectual property, and even a non-disclosure agreement about her past associations. She and Jeremy planned this like a merger, Melissa said bitterly. Not a relationship. I was tossed out when my share expired. You were tossed when yours did. I felt like the air had been knocked out of me. Back home, I stood in the middle of the living room. My hands trembled. My mind raced. It had all been so strategic. I wasn't her husband. I was a placeholder. Stability while she rebuilt. Warmth until her deal went through. My love had been a means to an end, but something still didn't add up. If she had all the pieces in place, why the public humiliation? Why invite me to witness the betrayal? Then it hit me. She needed me to walk out, to make her the one left behind, to paint herself as the victim, so her future business partners wouldn't question her loyalty. She staged the perfect exit, but she didn't count on the fact that I'd stay standing afterward. Jessica filed a motion to revisit the settlement based on new evidence, specifically the prenup signed before our marriage ended. Elena's lawyer pushed back hard. They accused us of character assassination. But Jessica had one more trick. The anonymous email from Melissa? We traced it back to Jeremy's company server. And hidden within that server was a recording. Jeremy and Elena at the beach house. He was laughing. Drunk. He'll never see it coming. He thinks you're heartbroken. Meanwhile, we're cashing out. You don't think he suspects? Elena asked. Marcus? He's too nice. That's his problem. We played that clip in court. Elena's face went pale. For the first time, she didn't have a performance ready. And for the first time, I didn't feel broken. I felt free. Outside the courtroom, she followed me to the sidewalk. Marcus, wait. I stopped. Turned slowly. She looked small. For once, the mask was gone. I never meant to. Save it. I was scared, she said. Of being nothing. Of failing. Of being forgotten. You were loved, Elena, I said. And you destroyed that. Not to survive. To win. She looked away. A tear slid down her cheek. I don't expect forgiveness, she whispered. Good, I said. Because I'm not giving it. That night, I returned to the rooftop restaurant where it all fell apart. Not for closure. For perspective. I sat at a different table, ordered a drink, and watched the sun set over Charlotte. 12 years gone. A marriage burned. But the ashes didn't feel heavy anymore. They felt earned. But just as I paid the bill, my phone buzzed. A text from a blocked number. There's more. Look in the safety box. Code 0719. You'll understand everything. I froze. That was our anniversary date. July 19th. She had left something behind. Not just wreckage. A secret I hadn't uncovered yet. And something told me this next truth would hurt more than all the rest combined. I stared at the message for a long time. Look in the safety box. Code 0719. It was Elena's writing. I knew her phrasing. Sharp. Direct. Always a step ahead. But this was different. No venom. No manipulation. Just unfinished business. I drove to the bank first thing the next morning. It felt surreal. Like I was chasing shadows in a story that wouldn't end. But something in me needed to know. Because whatever this was, it wasn't just about betrayal anymore. It was about closure. I gave him the code. Box 0719. The clerk opened the vault, pulled out a single metal box, and placed it on a table in a private room. Inside, there was no jewelry, no money, no documents of value. Just three things. A sealed envelope labeled for Marcus. A stack of old photographs. A tiny voice recorder. I picked up the envelope first. My hands trembled as I opened it. Marcus, if you're reading this, it means everything has collapsed. I didn't plan for it to go this far. I thought I could control it, shape the ending, protect the people I cared about. But I was wrong. There are things you never knew about me. Things I buried because I thought they'd kill any version of love we had left. You already know about Aaron. What my father did. What I agreed to. But there's more. That night in Raleigh, I didn't just lose a pregnancy. I lost myself. I lied to everyone about how it happened. The truth is, there was no miscarriage. I had the child, and I gave her up. My breath caught. I dropped the page. The child? I grabbed the photos next. There were 10 of them. A girl, growing older in each one. Newborn, then a toddler, a kindergartner, 10 years old. She had Elena's eyes, and my nose. My knees went weak. The final photo showed her at maybe 15, holding a trophy at a science fair, smiling. On the back, Kayla, age 15, lives with the Thompsons in Asheville. I couldn't breathe. Elena had a daughter. We had a daughter, and she never told me. Not when we dated. Not during our wedding. Not during our marriage. Not even during the divorce. I pressed play on the recorder. It clicked, Then Elena's voice began. Calmer. Raw. Her name is Kayla. She's 16 now. I've watched from a distance all these years. I told myself I was doing the right thing, that she deserved a clean life. I wanted to protect her from the chaos inside me. But then I met you, and for the first time, I thought maybe I could be loved anyway. You loved the version of me I gave you, and I was afraid, because the real me? She's made of fear and shame and choices she'll never outrun. So I hid her. I locked that door, and I threw away the key. But that doesn't make it right. She's yours, Marcus. I should have told you the day we said I do, but I didn't believe I deserved good things. And when Jeremy came around, I thought maybe if I destroyed everything, it would feel like justice. But it wasn't. It was just more damage. So, if you're listening to this, go find her. She's more than I'll ever be. And maybe, just maybe, you'll give her what I never could. A father. I sat there for a long time. No tears. Just silence. 16 years. I had a daughter for 16 years. And I never knew. I wanted to scream. To run. To dig a hole and never crawl out. But instead, I did the only thing that made sense. I called Jessica. Whatever's happening with Elena, I said, put it on pause. I have to go to Asheville. I didn't have a plan. I didn't even know how to begin. But when I pulled in the Thompson family driveway, I saw her. Kayla. She was outside, helping unload groceries from a car. She laughed at something the man beside her said. He looked kind. The woman next to him looked strong. They were normal, happy, whole. I didn't walk up. I couldn't. I watched for a few minutes, memorized her smile, and I left. That night, I wrote her a letter. Kayla, I don't know if you've heard my name. I don't know what you've been told, but I know this. I've missed every birthday, every holiday, every scraped knee and bad grade and triumph. Not by choice, not out of absence, but out of blindness. Your mother and I, we were broken long before we began, but you were never a mistake. You were a miracle that we didn't know how to hold. I'm not writing this to blame her or to excuse myself. I'm writing this to tell you one thing. I want to know you, if you'll let me. I'll be in Asheville for 3 days. If you don't show up, I'll disappear. But if you do, I'll be there, waiting. I left the letter in the Thompsons' mailbox. And I waited. Day 1, nothing. Day 2, still nothing. Day 3, I sat in a small coffee shop off Main Street. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Then I heard the door chime. I turned. It was her. Kayla. She looked nervous. Her hands trembled as she approached. You're Marcus? She asked. I stood. I am. We sat. And for the first time in my life, I saw a version of Elena that wasn't built on deception. I saw her legacy, the parts she tried to protect. Kayla asked questions. Hard ones. I told the truth. All of it. We talked for 3 hours. When she left, she said one thing that stuck with me. I don't know what this is yet, but I think I want to find out. I nodded. That was enough. Back in Charlotte, the legal proceedings continued. Jessica filed a motion to pause Elena's rights to any future property gains based on hidden assets she'd tried to protect with Jeremy. The judge agreed. Jeremy? He disappeared from the picture entirely. Some say he got hit with a federal audit. Others say he ran. Either way, Elena was left alone. I never went back to the house. I sold it, donated half the money to a fund for underprivileged youth, started working remotely with a nonprofit that builds housing for families in need. It felt good to build again, not just walls, but meaning. Weeks later, I received one last envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside, a single photo. Elena, in a rehab center. The note on the back read, this time, I'm not pretending. No es pas allí. Just that. Maybe it was her version of redemption. Maybe it was too late. But I didn't feel hatred. I felt peace. And just when I thought the story had finally settled, Kayla called me. She was crying. I just got a message, she said, from a woman claiming to be my aunt. She says Elena left behind something. Something I'm supposed to see. What is it? I asked. I don't know, she whispered. But she said it's in her old apartment, locked in a drawer, and that it changes everything. The apartment was small, nestled above a forgotten tailor shop on the east side of Charlotte. I'd never seen it before. Elena never mentioned having a place of her own during college, but Kayla's aunt, the woman who contacted her, insisted it belonged to Elena before she met me. Supposedly, she kept it even after we married. We met the woman at the front steps. Her name was Darlene. Sharp eyes, worn face, chain smoker by the looks of her voice. She claimed to be Elena's half-sister, same mother, different father. She said they weren't close, not since childhood, and I believed her. There was no warmth in her tone, just obligation. She asked me to hold on to a few things, Darlene muttered as she unlocked the door. In case her past ever caught up to her. Guess it did. Inside, the apartment looked untouched by time. Dust on every surface. Sunlight streaming in through half-closed blinds. The air smelled like old wood and forgotten years. Darlene pointed toward a narrow dresser in the corner. Bottom drawer. Locked. She handed me a small key. The tag read, Kayla. I looked at Kayla. She nodded. I opened it. Inside was a thin red folder, brittle with age. Stamped on the corner, North Carolina State Department of Social Services. Inside, adoption paperwork. Photos. Letters. Legal notes. And then, at the bottom, a yellowed letter addressed, not to Kayla, not to me, but to Aaron Barrett, the man Elena had hidden from all of us. I unfolded it carefully. Aaron, I know you think you won. You got the money. You got the silence. You ruined something inside me that I'll never recover. But you don't get her. Not now. Not ever. She's mine. I carried her. I chose her future. You want to hurt me? Fine. I'm already broken. But you will never lay a hand on her. If you come near us again, I swear to God, I will destroy every part of your life you care about. And I'll do it without guilt. I've done worse for less. So take the money and vanish like you promised. And if you don't, if you breathe her name again, I'll tell everyone what you did. I have copies. You know what I mean. Elena. My hands shook as I read it. Kayla leaned over and whispered, What did she mean? I have copies. I didn't know. But then I saw it. Taped beneath the drawer. A flash drive. Back at my place, we plugged it in. There were only 2 files. The first was a video. Grainy. Old. Elena, maybe 19, sitting on a mattress in what looked like a dorm room. Her voice was low. I don't care if no one believes me. But if anything happens to me, or to her, it's him. Aaron Barrett. He's been following me. Watching. He said he'd ruin me if I told anyone what he did. I can't go to the police. My dad said it would destroy our family's name. So I'm recording this. For someone. Anyone. He's not just manipulative. He's dangerous. And I'm scared. The video ended. I swallowed hard. Kayla was crying quietly beside me. The second file was a PDF, screenshots of texts, voicemails, even medical reports. There was no doubt. Aaron Barrett had tried to blackmail Elena multiple times. He threatened to release images of her, to leak lies about her job applications, even tried contacting prospective employers once. And every time, she paid him off. Silently. Desperately. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was a lifetime of pressure. A slow bleed. She carried this her whole life? I whispered. Kayla nodded. She never told anyone. She wanted to protect you, I said. She did. In the only way she knew how. For years, I thought Elena had betrayed me. And she had. But now, I saw it differently. She wasn't just a woman who lied. She was a woman cornered. Trapped between shame, fear, and the desire to shield her daughter from monsters. She didn't trust me with the truth. Because she didn't trust anyone. Not even herself. The next morning, I drove to the rehab center. She looked thinner. Pale, but alert. I didn't speak first. She saw me, and for once her eyes filled with something raw. Guilt. Marcus, she whispered. You found it. I did. She didn't cry. She just closed her eyes and whispered, Good. I met her, I said. Kayla. She's beautiful. Brilliant. She looks just like you when you smile. She looked down. I'm sorry, she said. For everything. I know. Silence stretched between us. Then I asked, Why didn't you tell me? Because I was afraid you'd see me the way I see myself. And how is that? She looked at me, voice trembling. A woman built on survival and lies. No, I said softly. You're a woman who tried to outrun her pain. And failed. But Kayla, I continued, she's not built on lies. She's built on your strength. Even to broken pieces. A single tear slid down her cheek. Do you think she'll ever forgive me? I don't know, I said honestly, but she's willing to try. 3 days later, Kayla returned to the center with me. She didn't say much. She didn't have to. They sat in silence for the first 5 minutes. Then Kayla said something that shattered me. You were wrong, Mom. You didn't give me away. You gave me a chance. The months that followed weren't clean. Healing never is. But bridges began to form. Letters. Calls. Slowly, carefully, Elena was rebuilding. Not her marriage. Not her reputation. But her soul. As for me, I found peace and purpose. I kept building, both homes and people. I spoke at shelters about emotional abuse. Donated to organizations that protect young women from exploitation. And one day, Kayla said to me, "You know, you're nothing like the man I thought you'd be." Is that good or bad? She smiled. It's real. But there was one last thing. A letter, mailed weeks later, from a prison in Virginia. No return name, but I knew who it was. Aaron Barrett. They finally got me. Fraud. Extortion. You were right to be afraid. She was right to run. You win. Tell Kayla I'm sorry. Or don't. Maybe she's better off never hearing my name again. I folded the letter and burned it. There was no need for ghosts where we were headed. A year passed. Not quickly, not cleanly, but with purpose. Some things healed slowly, like muscle after injury. Other things, they never healed at all. They just scarred over. And I learned to live with them. I never moved back into the old house. It was sold, just like my memories of Elena's kiss, her perfume in the hallway, her laughter in the kitchen. That house had stopped being home long before the anniversary dinner. Instead, I built something smaller, simpler. A 2-bedroom house just outside Asheville. Close enough to Kayla, but not too close to Crowder. She visited often. At first, it was just coffee, then lunch, then helping me with grocery runs or asking for advice about school. Now, we had traditions. Every Friday, she came over. We cooked together, argued about movies, played chess. She always beat me, something she took great pride in. She never called me Dad. Not yet. But one night, as we stood by the sink washing dishes, she looked over at me and said, "Is it okay if I stay the night?" Of course, I said. And when she walked into the guest room, she called back without turning. "Night, Dad." I stood frozen. The sponge slipped from my hand, and I realized this was it. Not redemption through revenge. Not vindication through courtroom victories. This, her voice in the hallway, the word I never expected to hear. Elena stayed in treatment for 9 months. She reached out once a week with updates. A new therapist she liked, a group she trusted, a breakthrough she was proud of. She didn't ask for forgiveness anymore. She asked for responsibility. That was new. One day, I visited her with Kayla. They sat on the edge of a bench in the garden of the rehab center. Neither said much. Then Elena took Kayla's hand. "You deserved better," she said. "But I'll spend the rest of my life trying to become the kind of mother you can be proud of." Kayla didn't speak, but she didn't let go. Later, when Elena and I were alone, she turned to me. "I never said thank you." "For what?" "For not letting my worst moment define your future." I shook my head. "You're giving me too much credit." "No," she said. "I gave you too little when it mattered. But you gave me grace I never earned." "I gave you the truth," I said. Finally. And it burned everything down. But from those ashes, something new came. She smiled. A real one. The kind I hadn't seen since before it all broke. Weeks later, I got a letter from Jessica. Our legal saga was officially closed. Elena had signed away all future claims. No appeals. No complications. Everything divided, finalized. It was over. And in its place, peace. The final redemption didn't come all at once. It came in small pieces. The moment I forgave myself for not seeing the signs. The moment Kayla leaned her head on my shoulder at the movie theater. The moment I realized I hadn't thought about Jeremy in months. And the moment Elena showed up at one of Kayla's school presentations, sitting quietly in the back row, clapping like it was the only thing that mattered in the world. One morning, Kayla and I went hiking. Fog clung to the trees. The ground was soft beneath our boots. Halfway up, she stopped and turned to me. "Do you ever wish it had gone differently?" I thought about that. The betrayal, the humiliation, the courtroom, the hidden child. The years stolen. I used to, I said. But if it had, I might never have met you. Not really. She smiled. That's a good answer, she said. For someone who used to be too nice. I laughed. Maybe I'm still too nice. Maybe. But now you're also free. And she was right. I was free, not just from Elena, but from needing someone else to define my worth. From thinking being a good man meant being blind. From mistaking loyalty for self-destruction. Now I knew better. I had lost a marriage, but I had gained a daughter. And with her, a future. One final letter arrived 6 months later. From Elena. She had moved to a new town. Started working at a halfway house for at-risk women. She wrote about the girls she was helping. About her regrets. And, at the end, she said something I never expected. You were never the weak one, Marcus. You were the compass. I was the storm. And, somehow, you still pointed others to safety, even when I wrecked every map we had. Thank you for being the man I couldn't be. I folded the letter, looked out the window, and in the distance I saw Kayla in the garden, barefoot, laughing. She had survived. I had survived. And now, we were building something better. Not perfect, not easy, but real. And that was enough. The end.